6 Olympias to Dana and Billy not even being able to get a cover until she wins Miss Olympia, to average Joe just hitting the street and being on the cover of Men's Health.
I think a lot of people get into the industry these days for the wrong reasons. And a lot of people get into the industry just for recognition. You know, you only have to look at social media for it. And, you know, sometimes rightfully so, people are inspiring others, which is great. But a lot of the time that inspiration is coming from that self-recognition, that self-inspiration. You know, people are posting, which is fine, people are posting more of these selfies. People are posting, you know, absolutely everything that they do, but in return they're expecting something more than what they're getting. You know, they want their covers, they want to be featured, they want this, that, they want the endorsements, and they're not getting it. You know, a lot of people are asking me, how do I get this, how do I get that? Well, just work harder instead of trying to recognize yourself. Just get out and bust your balls. You know, if it's not in the gym, you know, try writing. If it's not writing, then try doing your videos. If it's not the videos, then try something else that, you know, maybe you have a niche at helping others. You know, through that inspiration and helping others, then you'll get that recognition, and through that recognition, other people will observe that, and through that observation, you'll get that recognition.
Dorian, whenever Kris talks about inspiration, motivation, determination, like to win 6 Olympias, you have to have like an abundance of those 3 things. Like, where did you get yours from? Because I mean, we look at athletes today and we look at these guys, and you guys inspire everybody here. So who inspired you guys? You know, like, so how do you do it 6 times?
Well, how do I win Mr. Olympia 6 times? Well, to be honest, winning Mr. Olympia 6 times wasn't the hardest thing. The hardest thing is getting there in the first place. You know, and
but they used to call you the shadow, right? So like you go in, win the thing, come home.
I was probably, you know, you got the anti-Christ. I was probably the anti-bodybuilder. So I was a bodybuilder, but like all the normal behaviours of a bodybuilder were not mine. I didn't really do it, so I did it for myself, you know, and I did it as a sport, as a competition. So I was not really interested in what other people thought about it. I wasn't interested to walk around in a tight t-shirt and everyone go, oh, look at those arms, because they don't know what they're looking at. You know, if I go to a bodybuilding contest, I'm being judged by my peers, and for me it was a sport, so I used to keep covered up all the time. I wasn't interested really in what people were thinking. So I approached it differently. I didn't approach it as starting a sport, feeling insecure, wanting to build a bigger physique because of that reason. I was already stronger and fitter than most of my friends. So it was a pursuit, it was a sport initially, and a possible career, and then it did turn into a career. That's how I approached it. And one good piece of advice in life is don't put your eggs in one basket. But I only had one egg in one basket, so, you know.
So you put everything in?
Yeah, I put absolutely everything into it, and totally changed my life from being a guy from Birmingham with no prospects to being 6 times Mr. Olympia and travelling all around the world and like having an unbelievable life that, you know, that only I vision. Yeah. And I did vision this, otherwise it wouldn't happen.
Is vision like a massive, it's like a huge thing for you? Like, I know it's, I've spent time with Kris, and like I've never met a more motivational, inspirational, like dedicated and visionary in my life. It's like the guy is like this, like unless it's like I don't care about going left or right, like I'm going that way. You can either come with me, but I'm going that way. Is that what it takes whenever you go for a hobby?
Whatever happens to you in life, whether you know it or not, you're usually responsible for it. Is whatever energy you give out and is what you get back, you know. So if you're waking up in the morning and you're just thinking about some goal, whatever that is, might be a bodybuilding contest, might be a business, whatever it is. If you're thinking about that goal and actively projecting how to get there, how you're going to do it, how bad you want it, and when you go to bed you're still thinking about that, and when you're dreaming you're still dreaming. You know, if all your energy is going towards one goal, it will happen, whether it's good or bad. If you're thinking bad things, you're going to get bad things happening to you. So it's the same things. Everything starts in the mind.
What's your tie-ins now with the Olympia? Are we still as tight as we were? Do you still go over every year? I mean, if you don't, when was the last time you went? Because the Olympia show each year, do you still go every year?
I haven't missed Mr. Olympia. The occasion, I've missed the contest watching it, but I've been there somewhere in Vegas at the time of Mr. Olympia, so it's fair to say I've been there every year. Yeah, I like to go, not really to watch the contest, I'm honestly, it doesn't really interest me that much, but I get to catch up with a lot of friends, people I know through the industry and so on, so it's nice for me to go there.
That seems to be like a trend, because Ronnie Coleman said the same thing. He says he's been to the Olympia, he just hasn't been to the show since the last time he won it. Is that
it's funny,
because you get tired of it?
When I was competing, it was the most important thing in the world and everything, but when I wasn't, unless I've got a friend that I'm really like, you know, have some interest in watching them compete, I don't have interest to watch the contest, and it's my sport, it's bodybuilding, but I'm saying it's a boring thing to watch. It's like watching paint dry. It's like, after 5 minutes, the guys come on stage, okay, here's where it's in 5 minutes I've worked it out in my head, and then I want to leave. It's not very entertaining, the contest, unfortunately, because the actual athletic event for bodybuilding happens before the contest. It happens for 12 months, or 6 years, or 10 years, or whatever. All that work that goes into producing the end product happens out of sight of people. That's the real contest. That's you're just producing the end product on the stage. The actual contest is all the workouts in the gym, all the times when you felt hungry and you couldn't eat, and all this self-discipline you have to have. That was the contest. It's just the end result. So it's unfortunate that people can't really appreciate all that goes into it. They only see a guy standing in his pants on stage. You know? So I think sometimes maybe they should do a little bit more of a build-up on the guys and what they're actually doing before the contest.
Well, we have like Generation Iron now, so I mean, your area unfortunately missed out on Generation Iron, and I know that. Were you at the premiere? Did you go to one of the premieres, or you were invited to go at the time or something?
I went to the one in Australia.
Yeah, and you know all those guys. So how does whenever Dorian mentions that, I think there should be something in order to give people a different insight into the Olympia and bodybuilding as a whole and as a community. How can like Generation Iron help the community and the fans of bodybuilding? Does that work? Does it not work?
It does if you wanted to get more external recognition, because people like Branch said that now he gets more, recognized more from, since that's gone global. But for me personally, I like the sport having more of a cult following, because we're able to access people like Dorian.
Yeah.
If it was to get that much bigger, like basketball, like football, for us to access people like Dorian at events like this would be near impossible. So I like it like this. It's more of a community. You feel special that you're able to communicate with these guys, and for me to get to know people like Dorian, it's like that. For me, that's fantastic, because I always looked up to someone like Dorian. So I like that cult figurehead within this community. It makes me feel special. It gives me a feeling of belonging, and a lot of people come to events like this for that purpose. So I like it.
But how did you two meet? So like, how did this?
I believe we met in California, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, in California. No. It was in Vegas and then California and then.
No, I know that you used to do like a lot of before.
He used to stalk me a lot.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Used to send him love letters.
Don't even be saying that while I'm here. But you used to take like a lot of photographs. Used to be into your photography and magazine articles.
Well, I was working for Flex magazine.
Is that how you guys came to be friends or met or whatever?
Actually, I met him before that. I think
Yeah,
I introduced him to Flex magazine.
Wow.
And then later I did a couple of stories on in Flex magazine with Dorian over in the US when there was a funny story actually. We were both going to Gold's Gym for a workout, and the female behind the counter, because all the pros there get free membership in the Mecca, and they asked Dorian for the $20 cover charge.
It's an interesting story, and it shows you perhaps how much the industry has changed from when I came to it, or at least when I first went to California, which was everybody else's dream. You go to California, Gold's Gym, beach, all that stuff. Anyway, I used to go to Gold's Gym, and it was kind of like a family atmosphere, and of course, all the people that worked there were into bodybuilding, all the people that owned the place and managed it, they were all, into bodybuilding, so I used to go and sit down in the offices and give you a whole bag full of free Gold's Gym shirts, and, make you feel welcome, like part of the family there, right? But I didn't go for a few years, and Gold's Gym had been sold and bought up by some corporation, as the Reader magazines. It used to be the same thing, Flex magazine, Muscle and Fitness, it was Joe Reader's. It was a family business, and we always were welcome there and everything. So I went to Gold's Gym, and things had changed, so I was sitting with a young girl behind the counter, and, oh, yes sir, $20 please. So I'm like, don't want to give it the big one, like, I don't even know who I am because that sounds so ridiculous, but I was like, actually I'm a professional bodybuilder, like, we don't usually pay here, you know? So it still wasn't like, I am Mr. Olympia, I'm a professional bodybuilder, we don't usually pay, you know? She said, yeah, but how do I know? Have you got some proof? Have you got some card on you or something that says you're a pro bodybuilder? I said, you might want to turn around and look at the big fucking picture on the wall.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
I actually did a story on that in the hard time section because it was so entertaining in the next month's Flex magazine, and then the owner came up to me the next month. He wasn't too happy, and I had to try to justify that any press is good press, you know. He let it slide in here.
Did you pay the next time?
I didn't go back.
You did go back. So then we touch base last one more time on Olympia. Like, we look at athletes coming through. We've been asking all the Olympians and all the guys who wanted to compete. Have you any interest in creating an Olympian?
Really?
Creating, like taking on athletes?
But not personally, no. It doesn't work for me working with other people because I expect them to give what I gave. Like, most people don't do that, so I find it a bit frustrating. So I do some personal training in the gym, and I work with some amateurs and so on, but I prefer not. I'm not trying to be a guru for the professionals. You know, let other people do that.
You just let the sport continue on.
Yeah.
I'll intervene there. Back in 2006, he worked with Marika Johansson for the Texas Pro. He got her prepared for the show, being a good friend. He said, I will help you get ready for that. He got her so ripped, she became the first female bodybuilder to get marked down for being too shredded for the show. What? Yeah, she was the first female bodybuilder to be too shredded, and people were coming up such as Johnny Jackson, Tony Freeman coming up after saying, what the hell did you do to get us so peeled? But yeah, Dorian wasn't at that event until I was getting ready. I was like, yeah, it's a secret.
Well, the thing is, I can give advice, but I can't do it. People have got to do the work, and Marika is, you know, is very dedicated, and she did the work, but unfortunately not all people are like that. And then when they get on stage and they're not happy with the results, they want to blame it on the guy that was advising them, so I'd rather not get into that. You know?
And what about results, man? Because I know I've not lived with you, but lived in your company for like 16 months. And results is the only thing that you bring. And you're like the creator of DTP. Anybody here heard of DTP? Yeah, I see nodding heads. And that is like 100% results based. How important is results? I mean, because whenever we look at Kai Green, like Kai Green had a packed house. He never won on that bid. But like, the result he never won. Is that important?
Well, there's a different type of results. Obviously, you know, bodybuilding is, you know, it's very judgmental. You know, there's going to be some biased and unbiased decisions. But it depends, you know, results based. You know, that's a very broad term. But it all depends what we're looking at. You know, from what I do, you know, helping clients transform. Obviously, results is a huge part of it. But you know, what I do isn't just DTP and DTP alone. You know, whether I use Dorian's principles, whether it's German volume, whether it's, you know, any other. You know, I don't say this is the highway and everything else doesn't work. I'm not bold and brash.
Yeah.
I just intervene if we want to look at a simplistic view, or if we're working around injury, or if we're looking at, you know, time, convenience, then we have to adjust accordingly. You know, and you know, I don't do cookie cutter programs. I just have to look at somebody's program, you know, from an emotional front. If that person's got high cortisol levels because of the stress of their work, then I know that we have to train and adapt accordingly. And you know, we have to look at various means of how they can absorb that food, because maybe their emotional stress doesn't allow them to. You know, so you know, the results are, you know, normally custom.
Yeah. But when we look at like the likes of touch base again on the likes of these guys finishing second or finishing third and having massive amounts of success. I mean, do you see that?
Second or third in the world, though. It's no small achievement. Even just to be on the Mr. Olympia stage is a massive achievement, because you've got to go through the ranks. You've got to win your local contests. You've got to win your national contest to be eligible to be a pro. And then when you're a pro, you've got to go compete in a pro contest, and you've got to